The comments and 1, 2, 3, and hey guys, I want to welcome you to another edition of New Jack Swing podcast. I think it's episode 33 or so. And Matt, welcome. So, Sheldon, Stevie, how are you guys doing this fine day?
Good evening,
Doing well. Doing well.
or good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you're watching this in the world right now.
Wherever is watching it from.
We've had a 2-week hiatus due to Euro 2024, which is still playing right now. And the Scottish look as bad as the English, the way they're playing at the moment.
It's true. So for those who don't know, it is European football. Okay, I'll start with you, Sheldon. What's been happening for you though this past couple of weeks? Anything to report? Anything in the news or thing?
Sheldon's mic has gone down. Just the optimum time.
Sheldon, I was wondering if there was any. Okay, well, Steve, I can start with you then. When we get Sheldon back.
There's a new album by a UK artist called Beckwith that is very new jack, 90s hip hop soul inspired. We've got an interview upcoming with him. I think the first week of July, I'm going to preview his album. So it's called BKWH Beckwith. Streaming right now on iTunes, Apple Music, and all good places. So, and the return of Miss Jackie McGee. She's got a brand new single out, which I believe you was talking to her last night.
That was Friday night. Yes, it was Friday night. Yes, and if anyone hasn't watched it, I just say just go and watch it play back, because she drops so much stuff about Andre Harrell trying to get her to be the queen of hip hop soul before Mary, and then her response was hilarious. Like, man, because Andre was managing her, and even though she was an MCA, but she was around the whole Uptown stuff. So she dropped a lot of stuff, and also just going back to the making of Make It Last Forever. Jack, and then so her single just dropped today. It was supposed to have dropped on Friday, but it dropped today, and we're just going to push the single and the video. Yeah, so that's definitely going to be a good one, just to listen to that. And actually, there's plans that Tim Kelly from Tim and Bob is looking at doing some work with Jackie on some new delivering some music. So that should be some fun things. Hello, Derek. Welcome, and Mac. Yes. Other than that, I think. I think there's Then also Tim talked about trying to see if he could also try and make some tracks for Tammy Lucas as well. So that was all stuff that is all captured in that. Yes, and then on yesterday night was Woody Rock. He'd been away for a while, and he just came to give some updates on how things are. So it's been good. Yes, Sheldon, anything for you to report this past week?
No music. Everything is pretty much just remaining as it is. No major tours. Only thing that I saw was Coco from SWV. She was doing the record with JoJo. I don't know if this is an SWV project. I think it's a solo situation. That's the only thing that I've actually seen.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
That track with Casey. Is it Casey Haley?
Yeah, Casey from Jersey.
Yeah, really going in vocally on that track. I enjoyed it anyway. I don't know about you two, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been getting mixed responses. I think in some cases, people, just the collaboration between Coco and Casey is drawing a lot of praise. But then for others, that there is then once the excitement of that passes, is whether the song itself lives up to it. So that's mixed responses. But it's always good to see that these guys are putting out music. Dara, welcome. Old School Flavor, always good to see you. Yes. So, well, and other than that, I think the Queens of R&B tour starts this week. That's Escape SWV with 702 and Black Total alongside Maya. So that starts this week, and then we're also seeing. I think there's Tank is on tour with an R&B money tour with Jay Valentine and Kelly Hilson, and finally I think Missy is going on tour. So there seems to be this summer there's quite a bit of tour going on. And then finally, what did you make of LL Cool J's new single that just came in?
I've not listened to it, you know. I downloaded it, but it's sat in my new release files. There's been so much new music that I've got that I haven't got time to go through it all, to be quite honest.
Okay.
It's too much. But I will give it a I was listening to what rap things we're listening to. There's a new Rakim. There's a Common and Pete Rock.
Yes, I've listened to the Common and Pete Rock. Yeah, yes. So they're doing a lot. Yeah.
And the Dog Pound with Snoop, that had some good stuff on it as well.
Okay.
So I've been checking them out. But, I remember getting the LL Cool J, and I just didn't have time. I just didn't listen to it. But does it get your thumbs up?
It can't. To be honest, I've listened to it twice, and right now I can't remember it. So that's an unfortunate thing. I can't remember. I can't even begin to tell you what it sampled or which direction it went. So,
that reminds me of something. That does remind me of something. There's a new group they're called Strictly Bidness, and they've got a track out called Baby. It's very funky. There's a vocoder in it. It's a male group. I think a lot of the listeners would really enjoy it. Strictly Bidness, they're called.
Okay.
I think they're out of LA somewhere.
Okay.
And very funky track.
That should be good. And Joseph just reminded us that there's Brandy and Monica on the remix with Ariana Grande, The Boy Is Mine.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I'll be honest. I didn't like that.
Yeah. As I said, on one point, it's great that our 90s acts are actually coming out with music. You know, they're featuring, they're getting more prominent, they're doing these tours. So something tells me that either Versus and Pass the Mic really stirred up something that it stirred up the hunger for these guys to find a marketplace, because they're putting on some big shows. And I think Versus and Pass the Mic really brought them back to the forefront, because I don't think, you know, I mean, Sheldon, you can attest more so than I can. Pre-lockdown, where all these 90s acts are doing these massive big tours like they're doing now, or do you think Versus and Pass the Mic had something to really put them to the forefront, and now they're getting these big arena tours? Hey, Colin.
I think everything kind of just it kind of came together, because the promoter team who was actually behind a lot of those 90s tours, they had already started that. So I'm thinking the success of the initial ones, the Maxwell, and there was another one that they did, and it just kind of proved that there was a market for it. But then when you start looking at, like you said, the Verses, that comes along, and then what that does is that also adds to that, because remember, we're not used to seeing these acts in a public situation. You know, everything is relating to the music, but to see them visually, that was a big deal. And like you said, it brought them back to the forefront, to where even though people might have liked them, sometimes, you know, we have to see people in the current setting to really just re-engage with them. So yeah, I think it's kind of was a combination of everything, and it's good. But remember now, the 90s music is like 30 years ago. So that's the new classic R&B space now. Well, it's not new, because it's been the classic R&B. People have always had this affinity for 90s music. But think about it. People who listen to 90s music were coming up, man, they're in their 40s, man, in their 50s. So,
but they've got money to spend for these concerts and stuff. So, but they've got the money, the capital to start paying for these concerts, so which is good. Okay,
Colin Mills, Colin Miller said he's just
but
passing through.
yeah, but keep in mind is that the audience for this music has aged out of buying music. So the next level is the concerts. Just like anybody that was listening to music in the previous decades, they may or may not buy the music, but they will come out for the tours, which is a great thing.
Yeah, which is definitely Low Tone Capone, welcome.
He's got his big bucket of popcorn. His big bucket of pop. He's ready. He's ready. He's not passing through. He's there with his big bucket. What about this 80s wave that's going on at the moment? 80s is, never mind 90s. 80s is the big. I said this on the last. I'm seeing guys with like these mustaches that end about here and wavy hair, and and their hair's like growing down at the back, and I feel like I'm on the set of Mad Max or something when I see it. What's going on?
Everything comes back in time, man. Like you see now, all of the 80s fuller cuts with the pants and things of that nature. The skinny jean situation is just like fading away.
Yeah, it's gone.
So everything is it comes back in cycles. We live long enough to see it.
All this new wave, early 80s new wave, synthy pop. It sounds great now. It sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's good. It's definitely good. Is it Mr. Okay, how do you pronounce it? The last comment, is it Mr. or Mystery?
Missed you 999. We missed you, sir.
Yes, we missed you. Okay. Well, today we're doing our top 10 favorite tracks from High Five. I didn't expect it to be as hard as it was, Stevie. This was Stevie's idea, and I didn't expect it to be this difficult. I struggled with this. And when I mean struggled, I had 1 and 2 locked in. That was fine. 3 to 10 was hard, really, really hard. So because they had they had some really good tracks, which a lot of album cuts of mine. Mr. Avagnon, welcome. I only know one hi-fi song, Happy Birthday. Did they sing Happy Birthday?
They did a song called The Birthday Girl.
Oh.
Unless he's referring to that one.
Maybe
but it was on the greatest hits. I don't know if she's referring to that one or.
Okay, yeah, Stevie, we all enjoyed as much as we can enjoy Father's Day, but yes, it was good. Okay, so I mean, how did you, Stevie? How did you find compiling this list? Was it easy, straightforward for you, or?
It's packed with singles mainly. They were very much a big singles group. I thought, you always seen a new High Five single in the shops, and they always seem to do pretty well. I'll be honest, I didn't seem to listen to their slow jazz or their ballady type stuff, and I know they had some big ballads, but I always used to love the swing tracks they put out, so that is kind of reflected in my top 10. I remember when the first album came out, I didn't buy the first album. I bought the singles from it, but I didn't have a copy of that first album till years and years later. It wasn't until their 1992 album that I played that to death. That's probably my favorite High Five album. So I don't remember the first album too much, just the big singles from it. Okay. And obviously they had a few tracks on soundtracks. Boys in the Hood and a few other bits we'll talk about tonight. But I really enjoyed High Five. I miss them. I do miss the group. I miss, obviously, what happened to Tony Thompson, which was very tragic. We all miss him. We all miss him. But what a group we were back then.
Yeah. I mean, Sheldon, what about you? How did you find the list, and what's your thoughts on the group?
It was pretty straightforward for me. But going back, it was pretty straightforward. But for me, going back and listening to these songs, the thing that obviously made them stand out from a lot of the other groups is that they were able to make quality songs without having to rely on like big name producers, even though they're associated with Teddy Riley, but for the most part, when you go and R. Kelly, but when you go through those are like one-offs, two-offs. But when you look at their catalog, it's really, you don't have a lot of big name producers, and it says a lot about the quality of the songs. And of course, I love the fact the way the producers, they just didn't focus on Tony's voice. They focused also on the group's background. Obviously, it was, 5 of them. So now you have an opportunity to really get that vocal blend that establishes a unique identity that they had that other groups in that time period they just didn't have, So yeah, it kind of took me back and just, I bought the first 2 albums back in the day. So just going back and just reliving some memories, but looking at what made them unique as a group. And I think that when you look at the 90s, I know we're going to get started. I would probably put them in the top 10 of the 90s, male groups. There was a lot of them. And I just think that they stood out vocally and sonically in terms of the music. Some of the stuff was kind of a little bit dated, obviously, for the time period, but they I think stood out apart from a lot of other groups. Even groups that were coming out in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. I think that these guys' catalog stands up to that as well, Yeah.
So
I do have
go ahead, Stevie.
I do have one story. One little story. I was in my local record store, my import record store, in about 1991. It was around the time that R. Kelly had just dropped his first album with public announcement, and there was a rep came in from Jive Records, and this rep went round with a van and just give some of the shops like what the local product that was out on Jive at the time. But he came in with a cassette tape with some demos of upcoming like Jive stuff on it. And he played said to the guy, because I asked him what's going on with R. Kelly. He goes, well, he's working with a guy called Mike Davis. And he plays this tape. Because I remember Mike Davis had an album out on Jive. There was no R. Kelly stuff on it. But he played like this cover version of Ain't No Stopping Us Now. The famous McFadden and Whitehead song. And he'd done it like swing style. And it was, it was a good cover version. But yeah, look, Mike Davis. And then he went, he's also working with High Five on their second album. He's doing that as I'm talking to you now. Because what he's working with High Five. So I knew then that, the next High Five stuff that was coming out would have some R. Kelly stuff on it. But yeah, that was a pretty exciting moment for me, that.
Yeah, but it's strange because I'm listening to the catalog, and of course we know the first album had the 2 big Teddy hits and stuff like that, and then they also had the slow jam. But I was surprised how good the Faithful and the Keep It Going albums were. Had some really good, strong singles that didn't get released, and I'm thinking, why didn't they get bigger? The only thing I could think about was something that when I interviewed H-Town is when Shazam says that he used to sing in that tone like Ralph, but when H-Town came out, it became more grimy. So Dino had the more grimier, like the more adult kind of vocals, which became a lot more enduring. And so if you listen to it, Tony's still singing high and still has the sort of kiddie stuff. And then you were getting a lot more grown men type of Aaron Hall, that kind of church men. And I don't know if that had an impact on why their singles didn't really push more, because they had some good songs, but I don't know why they just didn't keep going platinum and multi-platinum.
They peaked for me on the second album I remember when She Playing Hard to Get came out. Jive really pushed that hard. They pushed it in Europe, pushed it in the States. And I think I noticed after that, there was a bit of a nosedive in terms of like their push and promotion. It was almost like they were expecting that to be a massive hit worldwide, and it just didn't quite do it for them, which was a bit of a shame. But by the time the third album came out, it just weren't the same.
Yeah. I think the I don't think they released the right single. I don't think She's Playing Hard to Get was the best single of that album to come out with first.
Stop it!
I just an opinion. We haven't got into our top 10, but I think I think there was
just a brilliant pop R&B record. That I think it was a perfect single.
But if anyone has it on their list, then when we're going through it, we will. I'll talk about my perception with it. Welcome, Jim Beats and everything. Okay, so well, we could, without any delay. I mean, before we start, them, they came out with 3 albums. Sheldon, which would be your first, your best, second, and last out of their 3? So they had High Five, keep it going, and Faithful. Which would be your best? Which would be second? Which would be the least favorite? Well, not number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those were the main.
Yeah, which ones? Which would be a favorite from those 3, and which is second favorite?
I think the last one was probably number 3, and then maybe the second one might have been my favorite out of all 3.
Okay. What about you,
The
Steve?
second one,
I played the most. That's probably the one that I played the most.
Which one? The second one?
Yeah,
Keep It Going.
That seemed to got a lot of promotion from Jive at the time.
Yeah.
It was a big.
Strangely enough, I think Faithful was my favorite, and followed by Keep It Going. And I think because everyone just remembers the big tracks in the first, that seems to be like, I just put the vote out and everyone put that as their favorite. But I don't know if they really listened to the tracks on the other ones. But okay. So we can probably go ahead and start. I don't mind starting off. Or does anyone else want to volunteer?
Go ahead and start off, man.
Okay. So as I said, it was just tough, and I switched my stuff around. But my first track is going to come from I think it's coming from the debut album, and it was a really good New Jack track. I think, but I listened to it. It sounds like a track Teddy might have done in '87, a New Jack track he would have done in '87. But this, it was done out in 1990. But it had that feel. But it was a nice New Jack track, and it was Merry-Go-Round. I really liked the swing in that, and the vibe. It really, So that's my number 10. I mean, most of my list is going to be a lot of album cuts. Most people be surprised to hear. But yeah, Merry-Go-Round was it comes in at number 10. Any thoughts on that track?
What's the song that you have, Merry-Go-Round?
Merry-Go-Round off their debut album.
It's a swing track, but I don't remember playing it a lot. I'll be honest.
I don't remember that one either.
Okay, you guys did that. Okay, you guys did do your homework well enough. Okay, yeah. So Merry-Go-Round, I just love. Yeah, it's a nice swing track. So really, I loved that. Yeah, but it made my number. It was number 10. Yeah. Okay, Stevie, what's your number 10?
I started off. Well, I could pull out 2 albums because it was on 2 albums. The track with Nothing Nice, What Can I Say to You to Justify My Love. It had that human nature. It had the SWV. They sampled the SWV beat.
But think about
video
that though. When did that come out? That came out in 1992?
93. After SWV, right here.
Oh, it came out after it. I thought it came out before.
Yeah, it was on the Naughty Nice album, and it was on this album as well. But I thought it was a brilliant single. What can I say to justify? Good little duet with 2 groups. Very catchy record. Strong record. Strong start for my number 10, I think.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Sheldon? What makes your number 10?
My number 10 is a record that I really caught my attention when I first heard them, and it made me go out and buy the 12-inch record. But listening to it now, it's kind of like really super dated for me, and it's their first single. I just can't handle it, Yeah.
Huge mix on that.
It's really dope. But another thing too, I think probably, again, when it came out, I was like 20, 90? I was about 20, 22, maybe 22 years old. So it's like, it's different when I listen to the record. Certain ones
bring me back and it can put me to that space. But when I look at that, it's on the little on the juvenile side or whatever. But you know, beat was dope. The beat was high. I loved it. I bought the 12-inch. You know,
if you was doing that chart back then when you was 21, 22, would it be higher up?
I'm sorry, would it be higher up?
Yeah, if you was doing that chart back then,
it probably would be somewhere in the middle. It would be somewhere in the middle.
I would
say maybe it would probably be like maybe in the top 5, maybe. In the top 5
Wow.
would be.
I thought the 12-inch mix.
I had to dig, you know, because I wanted in this particular time, I didn't want to regulate them to just the hits because they really didn't have a lot of hits. So I needed to dig in the albums or whatever. When I started listening to the album, I'm like, wow, these are some great songs. So that it just kept pushing it lower and lower.
Well done, Marco. Yeah, that is a first strike.
Yeah, quite a lot of hits.
No, putting Just Can't Handle It at number 10. That's
what we expect from Sheldon, though. At least he's in there. I don't expect that.
I'm ready. Okay, I'm in need. Yes, she was so fine. Yeah, those was that Slick Rick. So okay. You know what? This song for my number 9, it was in my top 10 and it fell out, but it was a song that actually it just kept going, playing, and I just knew that no, there's no way I could miss this. And it's from their second album, Keep It Going On, and she said,
I knew you'd pick that one from that album.
It features Faith Evans, her very first appearance. It's just such a tender track. It just keeps going. Yeah, I was like, wow, why didn't they release it? You know, I think A&R didn't do them right because there were some solid album cuts that should have come out.
Nice poster there in the middle of the CD. If anyone wants it. I'm looking at who produced that track actually. Let me just check.
I think it was. I can't remember who it was, but that was
really the Allen track.
Okay.
I guess who's on backing vocals now?
Yeah, Faith Evans, right?
Faith Evans, Ross Davis. She never had an album out. Eva Ross, she had a single out though. And Damon Miley, I don't remember her. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Jones, welcome.
I've not even looked at that for years. That is amazing. Wow, I've not even looked at that for years.
Yeah, but she said that's my number 9.
You don't get that on Spotify.
Yeah, you don't get
you don't get all that on Spotify.
So what are you, Stevie? What's your number 9?
I'm gonna go again. I didn't get this until years and years later. So So when I did pick up the greatest hits and I realised there was like a couple of unreleased tracks on from that time, I was very excited, and I thought it was produced by 3 boys from Newark, and it's not. It's produced by Art and Rhythm. It's a track called That Was Then, This Is Now, another very solid swing track from around 1993. Brilliant swing track, actually. Only on this greatest hits, so please get yourself a cheap copy of this if you've not got it. So yeah, there you go.
So what track was it then?
This was then, this is now.
Oh, okay, this
is now. Sorry, that's my number 9 on this greatest hits.
Okay, Low Tone says that she said plays at the end credits for Menace to Society.
Oh right, so, I need to watch that again. It was that was on Netflix and they took it off. I didn't see it in the time frame that it was on.
Wow, Sheldon, what about you? What's your number 9?
Miss You Girl. I love Miss You Girl, which is I love the James Brown Blind Man Can See It that they use in the DOS effects. They want effect sample.
I really miss you.
Girl.
Let me see. So that's 93. The reason I'm saying this, I interviewed a group that thought that they were the first ones to do R&B, hip hop, soul, R&B and hip hop, and I was like, I knew Intro did that type of stuff first, but I was surprised that High Five actually had some hip hop soul in their production, like a track like this.
But remember though, that album is coming out at a time when the New Jack Swing is about to fade. So
Yeah,
it
but it's
kind
hip hop soulful. That's what I'm talking about. Hip hop soul, that type of sampling hip hop over R&B. And I didn't realize High Five actually had a number of those tracks, like intro. This is the kind of stuff that was hitting up. Yeah, it had the Das Effect sample. Yeah, and that was around the time Das Effect came out around 93 too. So
of
that
92,
was really edgy. Oh, 92.
92. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so that was really edgy that they came out with that, and I don't know, they didn't get credit. I think they had some teeny poppy songs that were big, but they had some really. I mean, there's some other massive tracks that I have in here, but yeah, that was a good one. Okay, so we're on to number 8, and what was my number 8 here? So this goes from the Keep It Going album, and Keep It Going On album, and it was with when you listen to the track, you can just imagine this artist, the producer and songwriter, almost like, I couldn't make one of my albums, so I'm going to give it to these guys, but you could tell that this is his track, it's Quality Time. On the telephone, you can say that's R. Kelly.
Quality time with you.
But you could know that this was an R. Kelly. This would have been. I could see when I'm listening to it, I'm like, this is R. Kelly singing a song that would have been on his album, and he just gave it to them. But it was it was a really solid track for them. Nice follow up from their for their second single. But that was Quality Time. I couldn't miss it off my list.
Brilliant track.
Yeah. Stevie, what about you? Chimby says she said yeah.
I'm going to stay with the album you're talking about, and I'm going to stay with the same producer that we can't mention. I don't know why. I think, maybe we should be one day we should be running down, from 10 to 1 his debut album, but that's for another day. But let's get it started from this brilliant album. Is it my number 8, the R. Kelly? It's a really funky swing track. That R. Kelly's swing production, I think, is highly underrated. It's some great, some of you new jackers out there might remember the remix he did for John Pagano. He did a big remix there, cracking. It's around the same time as this album. But yeah, let's get it started for me. Number 8. Let's get it started.
I think one of the issues, and Chimbit was saying Quality Time had a Teddy beat. It did sound a lot like Let's Chill. There was a part of the time when R. Kelly was still trying to find his identity as a producer, and he then started to, especially with the first album, try to bite off of Guy and that type of production before he found his lane. But there are some of those early tracks that it was almost like, oh, so let's see what Teddy did on the first album, and let's try and mirror that in a way. But I think eventually he found his own lane. But that was a solid entry. But he did a lot of good stuff on that on that album.
All the tracks.
He did half the production. He did half the production. Yeah. Sheldon, what was your number 8?
My number 8 is a little bit older now.
A little bit older. The thing is, I wasn't sure who he was singing about. He was like, is it the guys a little bit older? Or, back then it's like, oh, look, the guys are older. I'm like, cool, okay. Knowing what we know now.
I loved how they had all of the vocals together. Again, that's one of the things that the producers, they really did when it came to working with the group. They made sure that the whole full sound was there. It wasn't like, okay, you heard Tony's voice and everybody else's voice was like mixed down. So, and again, it kind of was like more of a space where it was more mature, because remember, when they're doing this 4 years ago, they're talking about too young, so, it shows the growth in terms of the group. So, yeah, that's my number 8.
Nice selection, that, Sheldon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let me go to my number 7. Ah, goodness. Going back to Keep It Going On. I really, I wish this could have been a little bit higher. And Mary, 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 won't you do the play? I think the only thing I thought that could have the difference with the song is that I think Tony's voice was a little too high to really make it stand out. But it was such a really sort of amazing beat, amazing track, and I thought it probably could have been a better single to release first than She's Playing Hard to Get, which I thought was a mid-tempo track that was okay, but I thought Mary Mary would have been a much better track to release first. But yeah, so that was Mary Mary was my number 7.
It got issued in the UK. It was like a double single release with one of the ballads, and then you got Mary Mary on the other side with a few remixes of it.
Okay.
So they did try with that record.
Yeah, I thought it would have been good if they released it. That's to me. I'm thinking, I was like, that would have been a better first single. But anyway, yes. Stevie, what made you number 7?
I heard it a lot at the time on radio, pirate radio in Manchester at the time. A lot of the DJs were playing it. Very underrated track, I'm in Need, produced by Carl Borley or Bjorley, D Nice on programming, Ross Davies on backing vocals. A good mid-tempo swinger, but I really enjoyed that track a lot. That's my number 7, I'm in Need.
Okay. Okay. Sheldon, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is Faithful.
Faithful.
Faithful, yeah. That was one of their better ballads.
Yep. Yeah, he's going for it there. He's going for it.
Oh, Faithful. Okay. I didn't see that one coming and stuff like that.
He's going for the YouTube strike there.
Okay, what did so sorry. Others are saying some are saying Fly Away, Video Girl. David was saying hi if I hooked up with R. Kelly post 93 after he
Dallas Austin produced Faithful. Dallas Austin. We're not even talked about Dallas Austin producing High Five. Deborah Killings on background vocals.
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, that was so. What that was? Dallas did he do Faithful?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was. That was one of my. Okay. Yeah, that was definitely good.
Tracks. He produced the other Miss You Girl as well that Sheldon liked.
Yeah. I wish I what did he do?
That was it. He did Faithful and Miss You Girl.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're number 6. Yeah. So this was the track that actually. So I actually listened to it, and I thought if somebody had told me that this was another unreleased Teddy Riley production on their album, I would have believed it. Probably a leftover from when he did the first album with them, and that was then, and this is now. The High Five. I listened to it. And I thought, okay, this is something that I could see. When he was doing the Bobby album, and during that time, I could see that was something that Teddy, that kind of production. I feel like some of these guys were taking what Teddy did, and it's like, yeah, let's rehash it. And it came out. It fit that '92 type of era when with that production. I thought it was really good. It's a pity they didn't release it as well, because I thought it would have done really well if they'd released it around '92. If it came out on the Keep It Going album, it would have done really well. Yeah, but that's my number 6. What about you, Stevie?
This, I don't know. I keep thinking this track should be a lot higher because I love it so much. It makes me feel really good when I listen to it. Video Girl, is it number 6? You are my video girl. I still when I hear it now. I think I'll grow up, Steve, but it's such a fun record, I'm a video girl. Another R. Kelly track.
Yeah, he did well with them. Long term was saying, can we do top 10 members of High Five? I think the problem with High Five, unlike say Blackstreet, was it was circumstances. One of them gets arrested just as the album comes out. Another one has a car accident, and then I think another one had. Did he die? Or he also two of them got arrested. I think one with the car accident passed, and then Tony died. So I think you've just lost. So you've already lost four, and so just Marcus Sanders is of the only person who's been there from day one to now. Then Tristan came in on the second album, but like Damien hadn't recorded any of the tracks, but then got more involved in album 2 and 2. So
how many of the members have passed away?
Two.
At least three. Two or three.
Three.
Is it 3 or 2?
Yeah. The one who was in a wheelchair passed away.
Yeah. And then one was in prison.
One is in prison, right. One's in prison, and the one is in prison. I think he just got out. Because I gotta send you guys the unsung for that. I'll inbox that to you. Okay. But basically what with that group, man, is that also too there were a lot of issues with them where they obviously the first album was what it was. But remember, just like a lot of groups, they weren't signed directly to Jive Records. They were signed to two guys. One of them who had a record label was called Ventertainment. That's the record label that Keith Sweat was on. Vincent Bell, and then they were signed. It was another guy who was actually the manager of Curtis Blow back in the 70s and early 80s. They had a management team, and that's who High Five was signed to. So the issue was that after the second album, after the first album, they were about to go on like a promotional tour, and one of the members, the Russell, he had issues. He was like, "Well, I'm not getting paid money." And what they did, they always had management issues, and they had group member issues where they were like disputes in terms of compensation. So I think in that sense, Jive kind of slowly started to kind of like lose interest. And then when they did the She's the Hard to Get video, Russell was supposed to be in the video, but he was in no show. So Flex Alexander, Shanice's husband, is in the video, acting like one of the group members. Wow. So when you look at them, the reason why they could have been much bigger, it was the fact that they had a lot of internal issues, man, with management and and money, and obviously caused Jive to back away. And then they went to Giant Records. Remember, they went to Giant. I think the third album. They went to. So they just kind of like lost the momentum, man.
I'm sure that is that unsung still on YouTube. Is it still? I'm sure it's on YouTube. Somewhere.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, but you probably you can't get the full one. But when I interviewed Marcus Sanders, he was very soft-spoken, and he talks about that when they had Tony sing, they were like in awe of his just vocals from a young age. It's like, okay, Tony sings, we just hang around kind of situation. But yeah, that's the unfortunate thing with these guys is that when they get signed to the production group and they're hitting fame but they're not making the money, it can, reality sits and then they learn the business the hard way. And so that's probably a massive issue with that. And Marcus says he still had to get a job. He just couldn't rely on what was happening, the money situation. But he's just a very chilled, laid-back kind of guy. He still lives out in the Houston area where they're from.
Which was the interview you did where he kept repeating he's got a book out, and
so that's Tristan who came in the Kissing Game video. So he replaced the guy the one who got arrested. So Tristan he's from New York. All the others were from, I think, Texas. So Tristan came in.
And at the time of the accident, it was really only 4 of them. They were going out on promotional tour, so it was just 4 of them. It wasn't 5. And obviously the issues happened, so it was sad, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, so Tristan, yeah, yeah, Tristan was trying to promote a book, so it was a tough interview, but yeah, but as I said, it's a group that has been, the fact that they've got some really quality music, and I think as Sheldon might have alluded to, if there is a lot of disharmony, it's quite easy for the label to say, this is just too much for us to deal with, and we just let them write it out, which is unfortunate. So two died, one in prison, yeah, and then Tony. Okay, but okay, so I'm up to number 6. No, number 5. I'm surprised Stevie put this low, and I was really a big fan of this one. What can I say to justify my love?
It's a great little track.
I love the back and forth. I love the rap in the middle. I love the all I wanted is the call out. I could have done a video with that one, and that would have been a real amazing sort of video. Just like
I'm sure it's a video. I'm sure it's a video on YouTube.
Okay, I need to look
Double
at that
check.
because, yeah, I didn't think it didn't show that they released as a single, but for me, that's one of those ones
Oh,
where
they did. 'Cause I remember buying. I've got the 12-inch somewhere and the CD single of it with all the mixes on.
Okay, yeah, because
I'm sure it's on YouTube.
because that's one of those where you could see them, doing a sort of a sort of like they could have done a video with Grease, like the two groups at the other each other and stuff like that. But yeah, that I just really love that track. What
That's
can
a
I
really
say
good
to justify my love? Yes. What about you, Stevie?
I've gone for that record.
Yeah, you're right. There is a video.
I've
There
gone
is
for
a
that
video.
record that you don't think should be a single. Number 5. She's playing hard to get. That's my number 5. Could have been a lot higher, but actually, it's a fantastic record. Loads of remixes as well. Loads of mixes done of it. There was some Clark Kent hip hop mixes. There was some ski. Those are the CD promo CD single mixes, which are unbelievable. Heavy hip hop soul mixes, but brilliant single for me. That I enjoyed the video. Enjoyed hearing it in a club at the time. Going out on a Saturday night and hearing it in the club when I used to go to my mid-90s R&B and swing beat night on a Saturday night. Used to, it's great to hear it in a club. So yeah, very good memories of that record for me.
Yeah.
Very good memories.
So here's my thing. So and I'll always admit when I'm saying these things is that I had my Teddy Riley mega fan hat on, and he did, Just Can't Handle It and Kissing Game, and I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see the 2 or 3 tracks Teddy has done with these guys. And when they're playing Hard to Get, I'm like, okay, this is like a poor man's Teddy video, that song that just come out. And
Poor man's Teddy?
It was a poor man's Teddy.
Oh, give over. Get the yellow card out, Sheldon. Get the yellow card out for this guy.
And even the little Take It to the Bridge piano stuff, I was like, oh, come on, this is, Teddy has these.
But think about this. But that shows the influence of his sound, because when you first hear the opening chords, it's in the same style that Teddy would do with a lot of the guy records and everything else. You would have the whole dramatic keys in the intro, and there's the drums, and then there's the keyboard solo, and that was, well, I'll wait till I get to mine so to kind of tell the story. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So that's, as I said, as a Teddy fan, when he's not doing stuff and I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, okay. So hence, that's how I've always. So I think because I was in the States when it came out, so I think there's still a sense of, I always remember that, and so the song didn't really hit it for me. And it was played on BET a lot.
This is where's that popcorn?
It was played a lot on BET, but I preferred Quality Time to that track. But I always remember thinking, man, this is. So they couldn't get Teddy anymore because he's blown up doing the Blackstreet Michael and stuff. So they've got people who had taken his sound and trying it, and that's how I felt at the time. And so, yeah, if I listen to the track, it just feels like a poor man's Teddy version of the track.
Poor man's Teddy.
Poor man's Teddy.
It was like a pound shop version of Teddy.
Yeah.
He's top version. Wow.
Stevie, what's your number 5?
Number 4, you mean?
Well, I haven't done my number 5.
Sheldon's number 5 we're on, yeah. Sorry.
No, but what did you? Oh, you did. What did you get? She's been hard to get. Is that what you just had, Stevie?
Yeah, that's number 5.
Oh yes, Sheldon, just your number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is a song is that they should have, if the group would have been able to continue without all the issues, I think this particular record would have given them a longevity and a distinct identity that would have set them apart from two groups, from the other groups. And that's I Can't Wait Another Minute. And the reason why I like it is because you see the play between Tristan's and Tony's. And remember, when I think of that record, I think of Tristan being their Johnny Gill, you know. And if they would have been able to continue, they would have been able to kind of mature the sound out, you know, and it just kind of would have gave them a lot of longevity. And just listening to it, it's a reminder of what could have been with the group, you know. So it was very unique. I love the delivery. I love Tony's voice on the bridge. Very good song. And I'm gonna tell you, man, that song it probably was the song that really could have really opened them up to like a wider audience. Because I have a friend at the time when that record came out, she was probably 30 years old, maybe. And the group is probably about maybe 15 years younger than her. But, you know, she loved it. You know, the romantic lane in it. And that could have just been the thing that would have really just put them out there. So when you look at Casey and JoJo, you know, you got the double vocal, you got the Blackstreet with the revolving vocals. You know, this could have been a situation for them as well, too. And I just think that that's a limitation of the producers of that era, that they just didn't capitalize. They were focused on the sound, but they really didn't do a good job at really just taking advantage of these people, of their identity as a group and working to that strength. But that's number 5.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I thought it was it could have been bigger. You know, when you, especially if you think about what New Edition were doing with Boys to Men or Can You Stand the Rain. I thought, you know, I think New Edition, and Max talks about Troops kind of crossover. All I Do Is Think of You. I think it could have been, but I just wondered how they might have it's all about it's all about marketing. It's all about, does the label have what it has? And
Well, the marketing, a lot of times that's a crutch when people say that, because the record was a big record. It was like a number 1 record. It was all over BT, all over the radio. But it's just the fact that they just didn't have, the record was big. It's just the fact that as a group, that would have been the thing to catapult them to like the next level. And if they stayed in that vein, but the problem was that the producers they had, they were young producers, man, and they just didn't really take advantage of the group's identity like that. That's why when you look at Jam and Lewis, you know, maturity is a great thing a lot of times, because what they were doing, they wrote songs that were obviously, a lot of them were tailored to Ralph, but they also, because they were seasoned writers and producers, they were able to do things that bring the other members in to sing, that gave that group a whole different dynamic. And that's why the Heartbreak album, even though they put out other records prior, that's why the Heartbreak album, it's almost like that's the only record they ever put out. And when you look at the quality of the record, you know, and with Jam and Lewis being the type of producers that they were. And that's the difference between when you have older producers and younger producers, you know, so, yeah.
Well, you know what, and I think you're right, because if you listen to Climax, I heard Jim and Terry on Breakfast Club saying they were like, yeah, let's get Joyce to sing some tracks. Let's get Bernadette to show a side of her that's similar to Morris Day, so they could see how you play those parts in and get the different sounds and stuff. And I think other producers there, I think there was an issue with High Five focusing solely on Tony, and that meant that his vocals, they over relied on his vocals too much. So
You know,
Scotland are going home. Hawkeye, they're going home.
and then when you look at Tony, it was like they were framing him to be like a Michael Jackson, and that was to his detriment. I really did. And that's why he didn't come off as a solo artist or whatever, because they just didn't have music that was going to be. I'll say this: Tony Thompson could have been. I could see him being like how Tevin Campbell was with that record. Can We Talk? That album, that could have been his lane, man.
Yeah,
that could have been his lane.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Some of the ballads he had reminded me of some Tony and Kevin Campbell. Yeah, Tevin Campbell.
Tony could deliver a song the way Michael Jackson was able to deliver songs when he was a kid, the way Tevin was able to do, because people can sing. They can sing the beats, they can sing the tracks, but he could sing and he could transport you to that. He excelled in the ballads and in the up tempos or whatever. But I just think that, he just didn't get utilized, and everything else that happened, with him later on. It just didn't happen, man. I think the worst thing in the world for him was to go to do the whole Bad Boy situation. That's the worst thing in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was, the golden voice and stuff like that. But yeah. Okay. So we're down to number 4.
Scotland, they're getting knocked out the Euros. So, just conceived in like the 98th minute.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes, and they've just conceded. And
I think when you look in terms of pure voices, in contemporary R&B, if you're going late 80s and you're going 90s, I would put it's probably only about 5 or 6 unique voices that really are unique that you hear. Obviously, he's one, Coco's one, Casey and JoJo are another.
Yeah, Slim from 112.
Slim from 112. They've got a distinct voice. It's not many, man. And it's a shame that his career didn't turn out the way it's supposed to have turned out.
Yeah.
I just didn't listen to that record at all, bro. It's one of those records that.
Which one? Can't wait another minute.
Yeah, I can't wait another. It's like when you're scrolling through IG and sometimes like throwback videos appear from like posts from people you're not even following, and there'll be like a throwback video. High Five! I can't wait. I listen and I go, how did I never listen to this record? And I'm like, I can't wait, and I'll be singing away, going, appreciate it now, but I guess I didn't appreciate it back then.
It just didn't. Yeah, because when you look at all the other up tempos and stuff that they had, but when you look at that record too, I like how it was arranged, because Tristan is singing the lead and Tony's singing the bridges, and it just really makes for a good tension between the voices. So yeah, that's why I rated it high for my number 5 record.
Okay. It's funny. Hoffman London says his dream is to come to London. Well, when you have a surname as London, I mean, you might as well show up here. Yeah, well, if you'd be surprised, my number 4 is Can't Wait Another Minute. I keep holding about oh so long. I can't wait another. I just love that sort of.
Get the pillows out, get the bedding out, get the like you say get the David Foster hits out, get ready.
Well, Chip Beats has beat me to it. He says it does sound like a bit like a David Foster-ish type of stuff. But the thing, it was the back and forth. It was Boys to Men or Can You Stand the Rain. It was that stuff. But it's an enduring track for them. It is an enduring track with him. So Last Exit to Brooklyn. What have I missed? You missed pretty much 3/4 of the show so far.
You missed an hour of the show. We'll have to go back and watch it.
But yes, I Can't Wait Another Minute was my number 4. Love the track. I thought,
has anyone ever seen the film Last Exit to Brooklyn? I can't remember what that film was about. I guess it's about Brooklyn in some capacity.
So Stevie, what's your number 4?
Quality Time.
Okay, you got it in there.
I think, in fact, it's the only. I'll give it away. It's probably the only ballad in this top 10 of mine. Maybe, but it was high up there. I thought it was a fantastic ballad, actually. Quality time with you Yeah, grown up liking that one a lot, to be quite honest. So it's high as number 4, guys.
Okay, Sheldon, what about yours?
Number 4 is Never Should Have Let You Go. I love that. The
Oh,
harmony,
another sleeper. Go on, Sheldon, another sleeper.
the harmony and the lead vocal, just perfect, man. That's my number 4.
So my issue with it sounded like a poor man's Babyface track.
Oh, here we go again. He's almost.
I'm like, okay, they couldn't afford Babyface, but we'll try and rip his sound off. Even though it was Joe that did the production, he didn't write it, but it was okay, but it wasn't.
I thought you'd have picked that. I thought that'd have been in your top 10 now.
No, because it was. I think it was a little too old for them. I don't think it fit the. I felt it was a little bit too old for them. I thought it was an okay track, but I just felt it was a soundtrack kind of song that you sing at the end of street dance, one of these dancing movies and stuff like that. But it was just definitely a memorable track.
Yeah,
but
that is Joe wrote and produced that because Joe had a publishing deal with Jive and Zomba Records, so that's how Joe. Remember, Joe came in the door as a songwriter first, so that was the thing.
Yeah, no, but so that's probably why, because Joe was on Jive, and I think I've just remembered one of the things that killed High Five after their second album was Jive signed NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, and I think they signed. Yeah,
they moved in a different direction.
Yeah, so when you're making so much money and I think they signed. I don't know if Britney was on with them, but they signed Jack.
All of them. You talk about Britney was a couple of years after that, but they were going into a pop. They were going into a pop.
So that was when they were saying 10 million from that, it was like, oh yeah, we don't need to put up with these guys. That was the thing that hit all of those. Even Motown signed 98 Degrees. It was like, oh, you could sell 10 million off of a Milli Vanilli type of stuff, where you just get these kids just singing to R&B.
But think about it, is that's the influence of Boys and Men, because you got to realize is that when Boys and Men comes out, they're going to get these groups, and but it was strange around that time when Jive they were moving in the pop direction after being in urban music for a long period of time.
Yeah, so Mac was right, because I was saying it sounded like a soundtrack song, and it was Sister Act 2 soundtrack. I knew it just sounded like it just felt like one of those happy kind of.
I didn't know that.
I think I remember that.
Sister Act 2 sound. I never listened to it, so there it is.
So that's why it sounded just like a soundtrack, kind of like one of those feel-good movie kind of things. So now, that's maybe because I heard it on the film more so before, but but good song. It's actually my what do we call that part when we
honorable mention?
Honorable mention. I forgot what we called it. Yeah, it's an honorable mention. It's one of my 7 honorable mentions. So, but I knew that kind of stuff. So yeah. Okay, so we're going down to our top 3, and my number 3 comes from the Faithful album, and wow, man, this reminded me of in a strange way. I think there was a part of them that when they were doing this Faithful album, they were looking at what was happening at Uptown, and that whole not just Uptown, the Eddie F, the Untouchable kind of stuff, and this particular track gave me that sort of intro type of Uptown stuff, and with the harmonies and background vocals. I'm in Need. I just love that track.
Wow, I'm impressed, Nnamdi. I'm impressed with that. It's a really good record. That.
I'm in Need. I mean, I really know. It was. That's why I said that they had some tracks that didn't come out. That you listen to the album and you're thinking, why weren't they bigger than? But then now we've just been talking about when Jive is signing NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and selling 20 million records with very little talent. Well, I don't want to insult them because they may be on the show, but that type of, they were like, you know, we don't need to focus on Kumo D and all these guys when we can just sell this kind of records. And that's an unfortunate thing. But yeah, but that was a loved that track. I'm in need of love. Yeah.
Well, with records, man, what was happening was that they were moving. Obviously, the Boys II Men influence was there, and you know they came into like rap music was like their whole dominant situation. But when it came down to, because you mentioned Kumo D, he was kind of like done. You know, they just kind of like, and Jive was also too. They were kind of like on the cheap side. They weren't really giving up a lot of money. They weren't giving up a lot of money at all. So it wasn't until you started to see like the Ushers and all those when they came along. But Jive was like an independent label. You know, they were tired. They weren't really giving up a lot of money, man, during that time. But like you said, the reason why the Backstreet Boys and the NSYNC were so popular is because they were variations of all of those 90s groups. So people that audience connected with them in a way they didn't connect with all the other R&B groups, man. But I remember that. As a matter of fact, they even got like Full Force to produce a lot of those records for like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC or whatever. And they made a lot of money producing those records. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Full Force. Yeah, a lot of people made a lot from that. So that was definitely But I'm in need. I love the whole. It's almost like there's a part of me that thought that's just like the Sounds of Blackness meets an intro. It was just
spamming our chat because I can't reload it.
But no, somebody else on Facebook and stuff like that singing black songs. Yeah. So Stevie, what's your number 3?
Number 3 is going to be a big surprise for a lot of you. This a track that you probably won't even expect. I'm not even sure the pair you've listened to enough, but in my, like I say, when I was going to my local record shop back then that had all the black music inputs, there was 3 different types of music buyers. You'd have what I would call the connoisseur soul people who would spend like £15-16 on a new CD by, say, a Gene Rice or a Keith Washington, you know, Freddie Jackson with the suits on. They'd be buying all them soul CDs. Then you'd have another lot who were local. A lot of them were DJs who were buying what I would call street soul records. I kind of mentioned this on the show, previous podcast. They'd be buying like UK 12 inches that were on white labels, or there's only like 500 presses of these things, but it had a certain sound, this UK street soul, very bass heavy, mid-tempo, quite moody. And then you'd have the minority, which was me and probably one other guy, buying the New Jack Swing. But every so often, some of the New Jack Swing releases would get the attention of the street soulers or the connoisseur soul people, because there'd be a track on an album that was produced a certain way. And on this track, on this album, the final track picks up a lot of pirate radio play at the time. It was very big. It was played in the clubs as well. It was never a single. And it's called Whenever You Say. It's the last track on the album. It's a mid-tempo track. Whenever you say. But again, I heard it so much at the time. A lot of people's favourites. A lot of people's favourites. Like you say, you probably didn't listen to that track.
No, I listened to other things, but that definitely didn't make my.
Yeah, I thought it wouldn't. Has the chat gone down for you guys? It's gone down for me.
No,
I can't see it.
The chat's still here.
Yeah, I can't see. It's gone. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, the chat's still here. Can you not see him? Mac just says, "Wow."
No, it's just complete. I tried to reload it, but it's not having it. So
okay. Yeah, okay. I don't. Yeah, no, I didn't. Okay, I didn't really get into that one.
Next time you go back to the album, the last one on that, go and listen to it again. Tell me what you think of it. I think you'll like it, Nnamdi.
Yeah,
very mature track.
No, so you know, when I listened to everything almost 4 times, and then I went back and I started selecting. So I had my 17 tracks, and then I had to whittle that down. So if it didn't make it in, um, there's some like that you guys have mentioned that put on my honorable mentions, but at the time I didn't. Yeah, I didn't put it down.
Yeah,
But so that's your number. That's your number.
Literally got a lot of plays up here in Manchester. Very big
Okay.
track.
Okay, Sheldon, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Unconditional Love.
He's gone for another ballad.
Yeah.
Condition. Again, I don't think I'm listening to that much.
No,
Yeah, I tell you, man. And, again, that wasn't a regular one that I listened to back in the day, but just going through those records, I know I'm kind of ballad heavy on them, but I just couldn't ignore them, man. When you look at the quality.
Yeah, the last track on this album, on the Fateful album.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like. Yeah, the Unconditional Life. Yeah, it didn't make my honorable mention, but I thought it was okay. Yeah. As I said, if it made my honorable mention, it means that it had the potential of going in there. But yeah, okay, that was from the Menace to Society soundtrack. It does sound like a soundtrack track because you could see that it just didn't fit how they were singing when they sang those type of. Yeah, it makes sense. Man, goodness, we had some really good soundtracks in the 90s. Really good ones. So that'd be great to do one of those shows on that. But anyway, I digress. So that's your number 3. Okay, so let me get to my number 2 track. And and this was probably this was a track that from the to me, even if I listen to it now, it still brings back the same feel and the vibe. And actually, one of the things about this particular track is that when I compare to how Tony was singing this song, and I think I flashed back to when Usher did his debut album, the Usher album, and he was singing adult themed songs, which were really great, but just didn't fit him. He just couldn't carry it. I think Tony and High Five were able to make that balance, and I think the producer and the writers were able to make this song, even though it could be more for an older group of kids, balanced it well, and it just can't handle it. When he's I was 16, she was 25. I liked the whole Teddy stuff.
I'm very happy. It's number 2. Nnamdi, very happy. That's a great choice from Nnamdi there.
I'm surprised you. Where did you put it? Number 9? What did you put it at, Stevie?
I've not picked it yet.
Okay. Sheldon, you put it at number
10. Number 10.
Number 10.
It just creeped in. It just creeped in inside there. I'm number 10. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Just can't handle it. I mean, what excuse? I mean, the writing was simple. It was easy to follow, and I just love the whole Teddy production on it. I'm sure they had some good remixes as well, but I just love the whole Teddy stuff, and even the video. It's still upbeat right now, and you could just hear the whole Teddy's influence on that. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Who wrote that song?
It was Bernard Bell, Teddy, and
okay.
Yeah, Bernard Bell and Teddy Riley. Yeah, so Teddy did the production, and Bernard would do most of the lyrics and stuff. So it was the 2 of them. That was the same, when they were doing the do Me Right and the whole, that whole time frame. That was, yeah. And Marcus was saying that when they were in the studio and Teddy's doing the production, he said, "Okay, guys," he said he just felt like, okay, how is it that we've just come from Houston, now we're sitting with Teddy Riley producing us and stuff. So yeah, she would do anything just to hear me make a scream. Can you now see those comments, Stevie?
Can't see him at all. I just seen a thumb appear out of
The thumb,
Sheldon's.
yeah, Sheldon's on an iPhone, and that's why the thumb is showing. Okay, hold on. Let me do this. Let me close this, and I'm going to put it back up again, because and then we'll be able to see it. Can you see it now?
No.
Okay. It may be your screen because I'm surprised it's not.
I'd have to come out and come back in again to see it, I think.
Okay, you can quickly do that. It just takes a second.
What, I've got to leave to come back in?
No, not leave. Maybe. Let me see. If I take you off here and put you back, can you see it now?
No.
No. Okay. No, I can't even see the chat myself. Hold on. Can you see it?
No, it's not. You know, it's. I can live. I'll live without it.
Okay. Yeah, Bernard Bell did. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So that was Stevie was number. That was my number 2. Just can't handle it. Stevie, what was your number 2?
My number 2, big 12-inch. I just remember us blown away by the production, and this bit here. This bit here. Will we get a YouTube strike for this?
Yeah, we probably will, Stevie.
This bit here.
I love that. That was dope, man. That was dope in the club. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I put it on a loop. It's just looping.
Okay. Okay.
That was the start of the remix of "I Just Can't Handle It."
Oh, who did the remix?
Teddy Riley and Devontae Swing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard that one. I need to search on YouTube.
The remix is mind blowing.
I haven't heard that before.
I can see the chat now.
Okay. Oh, but on our screen or the side?
On the screen.
Okay, yeah, I just put it on the screen. Just yeah, I just put it on the screen. So you were saying that a lot of people thought the song Teddy, but yeah. Okay, so you want to go back to when you first heard that?
Yeah, probably. You won't get a YouTube strike. Will it just get demonetized?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Because it was a loop, it wasn't a whole song, so never. Yeah, so that's fine. I've never even heard that remix. That's what Chimby says. Yeah,
all you hear was a loop. You're just hearing the first 10 seconds of the 12-inch loop. I've just looped it up.
Wow. Never. Yeah. How was I? Was it so much different from the original one?
No, it's the 12-inch mix of "I Just Can't Handle It."
Okay, I need to search that up on YouTube once we finish.
So that was my number 2.
So what did you like about the track? I mean, was it the remix or the main track itself, or
the remix? This mix, because then these scratches come in and they drop in, and I used to play it so loud.
Oh goodness, yeah. Okay, then Sheldon, as Stevie's dancing around there, what's your number 2?
Kissing Gang. Kissing Gang.
Give him a red card.
I think I ran out of red cards.
Red card off the show.
I almost think he does it on purpose, you know.
I know he does. He's ruined the big moment.
I thought.
No, man. Everything can't be in sync, you know. No pun intended. Yeah, you know, everything can't always be in sync, you know.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So why is that your number 2?
Because this is just my number 2, man. I mean, you know, it's cool. I mean, you know, you see number 1 is you see, but number 2, it's pretty high though. When I look at that record, man, it's a perfect example. When I heard it, listening to Tony's delivery, because again, people can sing the tracks and you can tell, especially like a lot of the people that sing in late 90s, early 2000s, you could sing the tracks, but he's singing with feeling. and he's telling a story, and you can, it's just his whole delivery, man. You know, and I remember, and it kind of like, it touched me because again, I was in my early 20s. So when he's talking about all summer long, we've been together. But again, you got to shout out to Bernard Bell, because Bernard Bell, that's his writing style. Bernard Bell writes in that rapped, percussive, conversational style, and and Tony was perfect. I mean, it would have been dope for Bernard Bell to write an entire album for Tony. I loved it. I loved the innocence. The hook was good. You know, I won't say what I'm about to say, because y'all be like, what? You're saying that and it's number 2, but I would just say that is their signature record, but it's number 2 for a reason, and I'll let you know when we get to number 1.
But do you think it's a near perfect record for
Yeah.
that time? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you something. When you look at that time period, lyrically, you know, when you start looking at early 90s groups, I think somewhere around like the mid 90s, the lyricism started to kind of like go down the drain. But I think it also because you had like older people. Because remember, Bernard Bell is at the time, he's already like 31 years old when he's writing these songs, man. So when you know, that says a lot. You know, when you start seeing the songwriting quality is still there, you know, and it's great, man. You know, and it's funny. I'm gonna tell a quick story. At the time this record was out, Guy the Future album was still hot, and I remember seeing Guy. They were on an MTV type show. It was called The Party Machine. It came out like in 1990, and they interviewed him, and they was asking him, okay, so who are you producing? What are you doing? And he couldn't remember Tony's name. He said, I got this new guy, great singer, and he just drew a blank and couldn't remember Tony's name. It was funny. But yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay. Well, before we get to our number ones, we'll do some honorable mentions. And so for me, some honorable mentions for me was Unconditional Love. I think yes, it was a soundtrack track, but it was a really good one. I put A Little Bit Older Now. As I said, I thought I just liked. I liked the whole vibe and stuff. I liked that. It felt like an R. Kelly song that he just gave somebody else to sing. I put She's Playing Hard to Get because I thought, okay, it was a nice little track, but I don't think it was a strong enough track to be the lead single of the album. I put Fly Away. No, I don't know how many people mentioned that, but Fly Away. I thought it was actually Fly Away with my love. Yeah, so I thought that was I think somebody pushed that down there. Never Should Have Let You Go. I thought, as I said, even though I thought it was a Pillman's Babyface track, but I thought Sister Act, made sense. Miss You Girl, I really do. So yeah, put that as an honorable mention. And Ready for You to Love. That was so close. That actually was in my top 10, and then this morning it kind of moved out. Ready for You to Love was another track that I put in my honorable mentions. But my number 1 track,
hold on a minute. And She's Playing Hard to Get didn't even get in your honorable mentions.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, she did. Yeah, as I mentioned, it was one of my. It's as good as much as I liked it. I didn't think it was strong enough to be the lead single. But I must say that when I did put my list together, number 1 and 2 were pretty much already okay. I've got number 1, I've got number 2, and then I needed to fill in the rest. And I think one of the things about Kissing Game that I put down is because when because around this time, from 89 to 92, I was in a high boarding school in Nigeria. And so for a song to cross over into Nigeria and make it on the radio, it had to really be really good, because, a lot of songs didn't make it through. That's why I didn't know much about Tracy Spencer or Stephanie Mills and stuff, because they didn't play those records, or Phyllis Hyman and stuff, because those records didn't cross over to Nigeria at that time. Now it's different, we have access. But back then, if it's not on the radio, you don't hear. And this reminded me of how Shanice's I Love Your Smile really blew up and became a track where young people, older people can really gravitate to. It was an innocent song. It was also a song that was really edifying, and it just the melody, the whole stuff. And actually, for the song to get to #1 on Billboard 100, that's a massive feat. But that jam, Kissing Game, it was just the fun of it all summer long. It just an innocent stuff where actually you don't think about their age, and we talk about Usher's album that he did, his debut album with Puffy. You start to see how music and how young people are singing today, and you go back to what that was happening back in those days, and it's just a beautiful track, And actually, a lot of people didn't realize that Teddy did it, and I think when Teddy came back from his after his COVID, or maybe just before COVID, I think after COVID, he started doing shows and he started to play tracks that people didn't realize, like this, and Remember the Time stuff. And this is one of his favorite tracks that he plays when he does his set. So yeah, Kissing Game, I like the way, beautiful song, just the whole vibe and everything. Sheldon, give us a thumbs up. Is that how you're thinking? Nah, your iPhone gives a thumbs up. So I don't know if you saw that. That's his iPhone, yeah. Loto says,
do it again, Sheldon. Do it again, Sheldon.
No, I think what happens is the phone itself, it just agrees with you, because I've done an interview with TL Cross, and when he says something like exciting, balloons will pop out. So it's something in the iPhone that triggers it. But yeah, Kissing Game is my #1. It's, as I said, it's their biggest track, their best track, and I think as much as I love a lot of their stuff on the album, I don't think anything on the album comes close to what that song is. Not just because it got to #1. I think it's because Teddy produced it. Stevie, your 10 to 9 and your honorable mentions. Oh, your honorable mention and 10 to 9.
Honorable mentions. I always pull out a hidden gem, a gem that will make a few people who are watching tonight go to Discogs and eBay and think, damn, I got to get that CD. And here it is, Beverly Hills 90210. The Colleges. There's a high five track on this that none of us have mentioned. Swing track called What Your Love Means to Me, produced by Wendell B. Wild. But yeah, nice little track. It's also got, what else is on this? There's a track produced by Soul Shock and Carlin for Kathy Dennis. A good swing track. Jade, Every Day of the Week's on this. Lisa Stansfield, Make It Right. And there's even a Nick Martinelli produced track. But that's my tip for today. If you didn't get this album, you'll probably find it very cheap. There's a nice little high five track on it. That was on one of the albums. Other honourable mentions were She Said, Miss Your Girl. It was between Miss Your Girl and I did have that in my top 10, but it dropped out in favour of I'm in Need. We haven't mentioned Just Another Girlfriend. There was a 12-inch there's an R. Kelly mix, which was fantastic. A really strong mix, which again just dropped out. Faithful was another, and also the track that was on the Boys in the Hood soundtrack, Too Young. I used to love that at the time. Right, number 10 was What Can I Say? Justify My Love with Nothing Nice. Number 9 was That Was Then, This Is Now. Number 8 was Let's Get It Started. Number 7, I'm in Need. Number 6, Video Girl. Number 5, She's Playing Hard to Get. Number 4, Quality Time. Number 3, Whenever You Say. Number 2, I Just Can't Handle It. And number 1, well, it should be no surprise. Sheldon's number 2, your number 1, Nnamdi. What haven't we said about this record? Or I'll tell you what we haven't said. The fade out, right? It's got one of the longest fade outs of a record you'll ever hear. But that fade out just has me in pieces. Because as it's fading out, and I'm like, I don't want the record to end. Hear him talk, they're going, like, Mark, this is really, as you just hear it as it fades, and it kills me every time the fade out of that record. just in the studio. It might have been off the cuff, and they thought, you know what, guys, leave that in. Teddy might have said, just leave that bit in there. But I just love the fade out. And the other thing I do remember as well, it was a snowy day, snowy Saturday morning. We'd had an avalanche of snow. I get to the record store, and I was looking for this record by a group called the Wooten Brothers, called Friends. I just thought I wanted the 12-inch, and they didn't have it in. But I tell you what came in that day, that Saturday morning, was High Five. I like the way they kiss it. Fresh import 12. Took that home. Never, and played it ever since. I mean, it is. We probably all heard it one too many times. It has been played a lot, but it's just a classic, innit? It's a classic record.
Yeah, I don't think it's been played too much. I don't know. For me, it just
record is very special record, I think.
But I think it's also very uplifting. I think when you listen to music now, it's very rare. As I said, it always reminds me of Shanice's Kissing. I Like Your Smile. That type of happy song, and it starts off all summer long. It's like,
memories of that chat. I mean, Sheldon, I don't know what you got you bet. I don't know what you got up your sleeve. You have a good reason here to top that. You can't. I don't want to top this record, mate.
Yeah.
Have a go.
So your honorable mentions and your top 10.
Okay, my honorable mentions: Too Young, Highway, Quality Time. My top 10.
Oh no, you said Too Young. What was the second one?
Quality Time and Fly Away.
I like the way you got Too Young in there as well. Even you know what I mean. That Too Young.
Because I still can remember the scene from Boys to Men when I heard
exactly. Yeah, that's what it is.
My number 10, Just Can't Handle It. Number 9, Miss You Girl. A little bit older now is my number 8. Number 7 is Faithful. Just Can't Handle It is number 10. Number 9 is I Miss You Girl. Number 8 is a little bit older now. Number 7 is Faithful. Number 6 is I Can't Wait Another Minute. Number 5, Never Should Have Let You Go. Number 4, Unconditional Love. Number 3, I'm missing a song. I'm missing a song somewhere, but my number 2 is Kissing Game, and my number 1, and it's kind of almost in the exact reason opposite of why Nnamdi didn't like this. And this song is She's Playing Hard to Get.
Wow.
That's my all-time favorite high five record, and part of it is because it reminds me of a Teddy Riley production with the chords and all of that. But I loved Tony's vocals when he's singing that. This whole conversational, and then of course I love the She Likes Me, and all of that. So that's pretty dope. But that's my number 1.
I'm going to take that yellow card back, Sheldon, because I like this pick. I do actually like this pick because it is a very good record. That I'm going to reach in that yellow card.
And that's why I rated it higher over.
I understand. I get it now. I get it. I do get it.
And I'm going to tell you something. I remember having this on cassette, and I just kept rewinding it, playing it over and over again.
It is an incredibly catchy record. It is a number 1 record for me, that.
Yeah, see, y'all thought I was going to say Too Young for number 1. That's what y'all thought.
I thought he was going to pick a ballad, actually. I thought he's gone on one of these sleepy ballads here.
I agree with what Marco says. It was a Teddy rip-off song, and it failed miserably. I was just like, look at that. They couldn't afford to get Teddy back, so they've just done this. I couldn't. It's an honorable mention for me, but it doesn't stand anywhere. I'm sure there's some good remixes, but no, like what?
You know what? I really believe they couldn't get him because remember Teddy had a publishing deal with Jive Records with Zomba, so that would have been right up his alley. But I think that It probably was too expensive.
Too. He was doing the Bobby album. He just finished Michael. He did Rex and Effect album. Then he was going onto Black Street.
Right.
He was not. He just he didn't have time to do anything. And then he was also doing, while he was doing all this, he was also preparing for Michael's album before the just swamped with stuff. So yeah, but yeah. But it's we've learned our lesson from our favorite producers stuff. So we've learned our lesson.
But what a group! I mean, to get a producers like Teddy Riley, R. Kelly, Dallas Austin, Joe's in there.
Joe's in there, yeah. I mean, as I said, I mean, for people, you listen to they had some good their catalogs were good, and I think they could have been bigger. Unfortunately, they were on a label that just saw more money when they went to the pop route, and it just affected everyone's budget. I think also R. Kelly and Joe were blowing up as well. They were both on Jive, and so it was like easier to just, and R. Kelly was just making hits. So I think they just said, yeah, it's unfortunate, and I think at Giants, they didn't really get the attention that they needed. They had some good songs. I think the Giant album was probably my best from them. Mature, good songs, but they just didn't get the right support and push. So, but we definitely love High Fives. It's good call, Stevie, to bring this out. At first I was like, well, High Five, but no, good tracks and stuff. I had hoped that we had a royal flush, all three of us, but one day.
Stop that! That's contrived, man.
No, we have had it once. The Troop, remember?
Yeah.
Troop.
Yeah, we did Troop. No,
we got to the semi-final tonight. I think.
We did get to the.
And then Sheldon knocked us out at the semi-final.
Hey man.
Yeah. Just quick. So Chimbeat was saying that I'm Dreaming is a rip-off of Teddy. No, actually, it was Stanley Brown's first record he produced. Stanley Brown, if you check out the interview with Stanley Brown.
What he's saying is he thinks it's a Teddy rip-off production.
No, but Stanley was in the Teddy camp. Stanley would tell you that he was there when they were making the Guy album. He was sitting in the living room with Jackie. All those guys were there. So he was watching and learning. And so, it was like, and what Eddie says is Teddy used to just say, this is the stuff to do. Teddy was teaching everyone how to just like, use this, do this. So even Carol, all of them were learning from him. Eddie, they were all learning from him, and he wasn't hiding his stuff.
Fair play to Stanley Brown, because he made one of the greatest New Jack records of all time. That Chris,
but that was his very first song he did. First song, and that was
But another thing too, you also got to look at that time period. The equipment that everybody's using is the same equipment, so of course there's going to be some similarities. Whether you look at the MPC, certain pieces of equipment or whatever. That's why when you look in terms of like when Teddy was coming out, late 80s, he was using the Yamaha DX7. And of course, that Yamaha DX7 was also what all the British New Wave groups were using prior to him. But, whatever equipment he was using at the time, everybody was kind of like doing that. They were using the same equipment, man.
Well, not necessarily, because what Eddie would say to how Teddy would he would let everyone know what he's doing, and he would show them. He wasn't hiding what he was doing. So yeah, they may be using different type of time.
No. What I'm saying is everybody's using the same equipment. So that's why a lot of those sounds are similar. I'm not saying they weren't using it, but there's a moment in time, like especially right around like 89, 90, 91, Teddy used to kind of like low-key complain that everybody was like stealing the sound. Because it was kind of getting away from them. But at the same time, everybody's using that same equipment. That's why when you look back in our interview with Basic Black, and you were asking one of the guys, hey, can you guys come back out and do the songs? And he was like, well, hey, we have to try to go ahead and get the equipment that replicates those sounds. So when you look into what cats are using, obviously they're not using a lot of like the software that they're using, Logic, and that wasn't out back then, but everybody's using the same, drum machines and the same equipment. You also see it with the samples. People are kind of like recycling samples. But
Yeah.
I'm dreaming big record, man. Big
Yeah.
record.
They also mentioned Talk to Myself was a ripoff of My Prerogative. Timmy Gatlin says yes, because he Teddy came up with the beats of Prerogative while he was still with Timmy, but it hadn't been written and they hadn't given it to Bobby. And so when they split and he did the track for Bobby, Timmy was like, okay, I'm gonna make my own version of that and write that for Chris. So Timmy didn't say, yeah, it was supposed to be a sort of a knockoff, because I heard the track before it was given to Bobby, and I thought I was going to write to it, but others wrote to it, and so he just took that style, and he didn't hide it. So yeah, but anyway, so how did you guys feel about how hard was this, Sheldon, to do a top 10 high five?
It wasn't. For a minute, I was thinking that there weren't going to be enough songs for a top 10. Obviously, when you start looking at favorites and things of that nature, man. But across 3 albums, obviously it was going to be enough, because we know that
plenty of stuff there.
But the 2 albums, you were at least going to pull 5 records out the first 2 albums. So
yeah. I'm sure, Sheldon, you can answer this. So he was last Exit Brooklyn says that My Prerogative is a ripoff of Remote Control by the Reddings.
It's true. When you look at what Teddy was doing with a lot of those records, go back, if you listen to like "Girl, I Got My Eye on You," that's from the Solar. Dick Griffey's wife, she had a record. If you listen to like certain records, and to kind of just really just put a bow on it, what it was is in New York, what they would do is what the rappers would do is rappers would make routines out of R&B records. They would take whatever R&B or rock records, they would take the vocal melodies and they would create routines from that. So when you look in terms of what's actually happening now, when the new Jack Swing and that R&B is coming along, they're doing the exact same thing. They're pulling records. Like, I think I sent you a record where I sent you.
Oh, what happened there?
It just disappeared.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about records being ripped off, right? Let's not complain about that then, because
Teddy got that from Loose Ends or 52nd Street. When you hear that "One More Night," he took that from Loose Ends of 52nd Street. So if you go back and you listen to, I gave you the timestamp to go back and look at it. So he took the melody from that when they were singing it. Marsha and those, that's where that record came from. So, and if you listen to a record, I'm gonna have to send it to you. It was a record called Friday Night, Just Got Paid. That's like the Just Got Paid comes out of that, man. So what he was doing is he was taking like vocal arrangements from previous records and he was inserting them into the records that he was doing for the productions and things of that nature, because that was the thing, is you was taking whatever used to be hot, and again, it's almost like vocal sampling. So you're singing the arrangement to a previous song. And I'm glad my man said that, because the Reddings Remote Control, that's been my favorite record in like 1981. So a lot of people didn't realize it. And then a few years, maybe it might have been 15 years after My Prerogative came out, and I heard it, and I played Remote Control, and the chorus, everybody's talking, all that. It's the same chorus from Remote Control. That's what they used to do.
I'll YouTube that.
That's exactly what they used to do. And think about it. That's like foreshadowing what's going to come along with Puffy and everybody else, because everybody else is doing the same thing. Like if you listen to like the hip hop R&B people singing, they're singing melodies. They're putting new, and that's the trend. In the mid 2000s, going into like the 2010s, people now are writing songs. They're using the same vocal melody, but they're putting different lyrics on it. So Teddy was doing that. like 25 years before everybody was doing it now. So that was the thing, man. So he is absolutely right.
You
The
can't
Readings
be
Remote
mad at it, you
Control,
know.
81.
I seen
And
a
that was
chat
the big
getting
record in New
riled
York
up
on
about it.
Kiss FM. So that was a record that everybody heard, man. So when they were making those records, you hear it. You know, even if you're not consciously doing it, it's there, you know. Yeah.
You know, you can be. It's not even worth getting mad about or riled up. I can see it in the chat, but what, you know, compared to what's coming out now, who's going to rip who off now? Because there's nothing coming out that's good enough that you're gonna rip off. That's coming out now.
But I think there was an element of, I couldn't see it, Sheldon, when you sent the loose end stuff, but I guess there was a sense of, okay, this is a good way of harmonizing, as opposed to sampling the whole thing, but taking, he just disappeared again. But anyway, I think, as you said, what we're getting now is, we would love to get the stuff that we're getting back then, right now. But we don't want to take the shine away from High Five. We've celebrated their catalog, and do we all think they should have been? If they were on a different label, they might have been a bigger group. If they had got, as Sheldon mentioned, more mature producers who could have given everyone a style to shine. So think about what Jimmy and Terry did in the Home Again album. Ricky Bell actually has a more prominent role on that album than he's had in previous albums.
It's the loss of Tony Thompson, really. I know the group haven't ended. I know they have released a couple of albums after Tony Thompson, but the loss of Tony Thompson did really, that was it for the group, really, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah, and
major blow.
His window had passed, and I'm starting to see the chat here. In terms of that, for a lot of people talking about like the production and those songs or whatever that is, and that just was the style, man. Because remember, that just was what it was. So when and then fast forward, we're talking about Tony. It's just a shame what happened to him, because it's like, okay, he had that window from 90 to maybe 94. And then it was I know it was kind of like a minor big deal. People were anticipating a solo album, Sexational, a crazy title, and it didn't work out, man. And then he just went back home, and we know the rest is history, man. But it just goes to show you, in terms of talent, you can have talent, but if you don't have the right situation, you could just end up, a footnote, But thankfully, these guys have music out there that people still love. It's quality music, and they can actually go ahead and tap into that. But I encourage everybody just to go back and listen to the catalog. And I'm glad the dialogue came up. Go back and listen to Remote Control. Listen to a lot of those records. Friday Night Just Got Paid. All those records, and you'll see. So when you look at in terms of producers, that's just what the style of production was back then. And unfortunately, when you look at Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, like you said, Nnamdi, is that Jimmy Jam, that's what makes Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, the LA and Babyfaces, they were very special in terms of what their abilities were. Because it wasn't just, okay, I'm going to produce music. I can tailor it to this voice. I can write it. I've seen Instagram posts when Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are talking about how they're creating songs like Can You Stand the Rain? When they looked at Can You Stand the Rain, they imagined it from a 70s record, from the stylistics record, when somebody comes in and then another guy sings the vocal, so those, when you got a lot of stuff that you can reference from, it really makes a difference in terms of that, man. But again, it's no diss on High Five. Those guys really, really good. I think Tony was probably in that space. He had one of the most distinct and most unique voices in 90s R&B. You're talking about Coco. You're talking about Casey and JoJo. We're talking about Slim from 112. He's probably in that top 10 of those 90 '90s vocals from like 1990 to maybe '95. You know, so yeah.
Stevie, what did you make of Tony's debut album? Did you think we were waiting too?
You know,
Did we?
it was really too trendy. It wasn't. I think he was going with the hot people at the time, and I just think that wasn't going to work for him. He needed somebody. If you look at what Tevin Campbell did, even Tevin Campbell might have had I'll Be Sure, which was still a dope record that Al did on him. But Quincy Jones was a mentor to Tevin Campbell, so he was kind of able to steer him, you know, in the right direction. You had Prince writing some songs or whatever that was, but when you look in terms of Tevin Campbell doing the Can We Talk, those records, they locked him in. So whatever potential that he had with the Tevin album, when he came out with Can We Talk, remember, he only came out with 3 albums. Back to the World was the 3rd album. But that Can We Talk, that album solidified who he was. And Tony, if he would have had an album like that, it would have been the same.
Like, he needed some big songs, didn't he? Didn't you know?
Quality song.
It's a good album, that solo album. There is some really good tracks on it, but there's no like
standout stuff,
classic songs on it.
And that lead single was, even though Babyface wrote it and Teddy did some of the production on it, because it was Babyface wrote it, then John, which is one of his in-house producers, and then Sprague did some of the for Ted on Teddy's spot, did some of the mixes and stuff, but it wasn't strong and stuff. It wasn't like the Usher album. It wasn't like Tony Thompson's album. I'm sorry, Tony Thompson, the Tevin Campbell's album. So yeah, there was a lot of expectation from us. We're like, oh goodness, can you imagine a voice and stuff? And yeah, but it's been great, guys. You know, it's definitely been great to celebrate these guys.
Real quick now, somebody asked about who produced that I Can't Wait Another Minute, and the guy who produced it and wrote it, his name was Eric Foster Wright. White. He was the one who did the record. He produced the record. So I think
not David Foster, Eric Foster.
Yeah. We should do it. Sheldon, somebody did ask you who did we do our favorite vocalist as female?
Best 5 female singers of all time. That's a hard one because you got to go across.
Yeah, we did it. We did our top 10 favorite females.
For me to go across different eras, it would be hard. You have to do that. But if we're staying in the 90s, I would say Tammy Lucas is my number 1. 2 would be maybe Coco from SWV. 3 would probably be Mary J. Blige. 4 would be Faith Evans, and maybe 5 would maybe be Brandy. For the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, it's been great. We're not sure what we're going to do next and when we're back, but keep updated. We'll keep you guys updated on that. Please go out and get the new single by Jackie McGee, Slow Down. It is just been released. The video should be up soon, which is it's just instance in an amazing track.
Oh, one more thing, Nnamdi, the Joyce Irby, Fenderelli Irby interview you did. Props for that. Amazing interview.
Okay, yeah.
No, we mentioned it on the last podcast, didn't we?
Yeah, but is there anything that stood out for you about watching it?
Just the story about what happened with Dallas Austin. The way she, tough to hear that. Very tough.
Yeah. What? I think that's a really a hard one.
Guys on that, good interview, guys. But yeah, let's get our high five jet out of here till next time.
Yeah, so maybe this is. So who knows? This could be our next episode, but we'll find out. We'll see how it goes. Stevie's already got his stuff in there. Yeah. But anyway, guys, we'll see you guys on a Sunday. We'll know if it's next or the week after. We'll let you know. But it's been great. Stevie, Sheldon, Jackie McGee, check out her stuff. She's an amazing person. Check out the interview I did with her Friday. she drops a lot of stuff about Uptown, and I think Tim Kelly is also looking to do some tracks with her as well as Tammy Lucas. So Jackie's trying to get that together.
Thank you for tuning in, all. Thank you for as I ever join us loyally on a Sunday evening. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Love your input. Love your dedication. Because you could be anywhere in the world.
In fact, maybe one Sunday we'll all meet in Five Guys, all of us for a Five Guys for a burger and fries. How about that?
So you know when it doesn't happen, then you can sue Stevie for false promises because you go into Five Guys and say
We'll all
Stevie
meet
Street.
Five Guys for a burger.
He's going to pay for it
on a Sunday evening.
Oh goodness, Justin, we go live Sundays at 9 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. Eastern, and I so. But this Friday, but at other time. But you could see it on the community chat. You'd see all the lives showing up there. But we'll see you guys, snakes on Stevie. So we'll see you guys. We'll see what we do, and it'll be posted. But we'll catch you.